Hi guys, and welcome back to class. Today we're going to start with lesson 18, and we are going to be looking at a painting. When I show you the painting, I want you to make a list of everything that you see in the painting. So this is the painting. I will have another clip of this or a link to this painting so you could look at it closer. But I want you to write down everything that you see in the painting. After you've looked at the painting and you've written down what it is that you see, I want us to look at our focusing and our content framing question. Today, we are going to examine two poems, and they were written during World War I. When we read these poems, we are going to be able to understand how they show or depict our attitudes towards the war. These poems were written by two soldiers that were serving in World War I. One of the soldiers' name was Wilfred Owen, and the other one was John McCrae. Remember that Eric Maria Remarque and A.H. Ween, who are the authors and the translators of All Quiet on the Western Front, also served in the Army. So the book that we're reading right now was written by someone who served in the Army. And the two poems that we're going to read today are also written by two soldiers who served in World War I. Their names are Wilfred Owen and John McCrae. These poets served in the war, but it does not mean that the speaker of the poems are poets themselves. Just because the person who wrote it doesn't necessarily mean they're a poet, but maybe they were trying to express themselves in some sort of way. So the first poem that we're going to look at is In Flanders Fields. We're going to pause after each stanza, and as I read one stanza, I then want you to read the same stanza back to yourself. This is called echo reading. So I'm going to read the poem stanza by stanza, and then you're going to repeat the stanza after me. In Flanders Fields by John McCrae. In Flanders Fields, the poppies blow between the crosses, row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky, the larks, still bravely singing, fly, scarce heard amid the scuds below. You can pause now and repeat the same stanza. We are the dead, short days ago. We lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders Fields. You may now pause again and repeat the same stanza. Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you from failing hands we throw the torch. Be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders Fields. So looking back at the poem, I want you guys to write, what do you notice and what do you wonder about this poem? Now let's look at another poem. It's called Dulce et decorum est. Dulce et decorum est. Bent double, like old beggars under sacks, knock-kneed, coughing like hags, we cursed through sludge, till on the haunting flares we turned our backs, and towards our distant rest began to trudge. Men marched asleep, many had lost their boots, but limped on, bloodshot, all went lame, all blind, drunk with fatigue, deaf, even to the hoots of gas shells dropping softly behind. Gas! Gas! Quick, boys! An ecstasy of fumbling, fitting the clumsy helmets just in time. But someone still was yelling out and stumbling, and floundering like a man in fire or lime, dim through the misery panes and thick green light, as under a green sea, I saw him drowning. In all my dreams, before my helpless sight, he plunges at me, guttering, choking, drowning. If in some smothering dreams you too could pace behind the wagon that we flung him in, and watch the white eyes withering in his hanging face, like a devil sick of sin, if you could hear, at every jolt, the blood come gargling from the corrupted lungs, obscene as cancer, bitter as the cud of vile, incurable sores or innocent tongues, my friend, you would not tell me with such high zest to children ardent for some depressed glory, the old lie, dulce et decorum est, pro patria more. I want you to write down what you notice and wonder about this poem. But looking at these words, the word ardent, it means marked or possessing overwhelming feeling of loyalty or eagerness, a fiery spirit of strong desire. It means you're devoted or you're passionate to something. So here in the poem, the word ardent was used. To children ardent for some desperate glory. So basically what they're saying is that they are marked or possessing an overwhelming feeling of loyalty. The children were marked with loyalty. And another word is zest, something that is very pleasurable and causes great enjoyment. So here, my friend, you would not tell with such a high zest. So he's saying that you could not tell that his friend was enjoying himself as much or having great enjoyment. So now knowing those words, and if there are any other words you don't know, you need to look them up and ask yourself, what do you notice and wonder about this poem? So our first poem that we read was Flanders Fields. This poem here. Flanders Fields, or Flanders, was a region in Belgium where some of the worst fighting on the Western Front took place. So when we think about this poem that we've just read, we know that in Flanders Fields, it was a part of the front that was very dangerous. The worst fighting took place here. So there was probably a lot of death and sorrow and despair there. So knowing what we know about Flanders, I want us to answer the following questions. Who is the speaker of In Flanders Fields? How does the speaker describe the setting of Flanders Fields? What actions does the speaker instruct in the third stanza? And what will happen if the speaker's quarrel is not continued? You should find this on line 10. And why does the speaker have failing hands? Line 11. You'll answer these questions in the discussion board. Then there will be some more discussion questions. How does the first stanza of the poem describe the men and their situation? Who is the speaker of the poem? How does the gas attack affect the speaker of the poem? And how does the gas attack affect this? Same question, sorry. And why does the speaker say it is an old lie to tell children? It is sweet and proper thing to die for one's country. This is going to be in your other poem, Dulce et decorum est. Now let's look at another painting. And I want to see if you notice any of the parts of the painting that you can identify as actual objects. So for example, when I look in this painting, I see a hat or a helmet right here, right? What other objects can you actually make out that you see in this painting. How can you combine these objects with other shapes in the image to create something that you can identify or that you can see? So I want to reveal to you, now that you've been looking at this painting, that the name of this painting is called Soldiers Playing Cards. This painting here is called Soldiers Playing Cards, okay? So now that we've identified some shapes, I want you to look and see how many human figures you see. So now we're going to do a tabula. A tabula is when you pretend to act out something that you see. So you're going to mimic the soldiers playing cards. You can do this with a family member, but you can't talk. You can only use facial expressions and body movements to pretend that you're playing cards. Then I want you to think, how does the artist, whose name is Ferdinand Lieger, portray the human body in his painting? Now moving on in our lesson, I want you guys to go to handout 12B, and you'll be completing this for homework, for fluency. You're to read it carefully, practice reading it aloud, annotate this article, and have someone grade you on how accurately you read the passage, if you pause when you're supposed to, and if you're reading with appropriate expression, tone, and pace. To end this lesson, our content framing question is, what's happening in poetry from World War I? So looking at these two poems that we read, what's happening in these poems and how do they connect to World War I? Then you're going to write a 2-sentence summary for each poem, identifying the main idea and who the speaker of each poem is. Now to end on to our vocabulary deep dive, looking at the word sludge. The definition of sludge is a thick, sticky, wet mud or ooze. So look at these words. We have sludge, clean, water, slime, mud, and filth. Clean water would be on one end if we were going to make a word timeline, right? So we would put clean water on one end and sludge on the other, because that one sounds the most nastiest or the most ickiest. It has the most negative connotation. We've talked about connotations before. The word sludge has a specific nuance that best captures the struggles and the horror of the soldier's struggle. A nuance means the shades of the meaning, and it's from the French word that means to shade or to cloud. Just as a painter might use light orange over yellow or light orange over dark yellow, authors purposely choose words that are based on their nuances or how it's going to make the reader feel. So based on these words, all of these words would make your reader feel a different type of way. So now I want you to look at these words. You have ardent, zestful, interested, excited, and intense. I want you guys to sort these words in a word line from the most powerful word to the least powerful word, and be prepared to explain why you put them in the particular order that you did. So just like here, when we talked about how clean water would be at one end because this word doesn't really give you a negative nuance or a negative connotation. So if I were going to do these words, I might put clean water, then I might do mud, because it's just mud. Then I might do slime, because that's kind of nastier than clean water. Then I might do filth. When you say the word filth, that sounds really nasty. Like the water is full of nasty things, organisms and bile and bacteria. And then I might put sludge at the end. So if I wanted to put these words in order from which one was the best to the worst, I might choose this based off of how I feel that these words go in order. So green, I could put this in green, this being the cleanest of the words, or the one with the most positive nuance or connotation. And this one at brown being the most nastiest of connotation. So I want you to do the same with these words. Then complete this exit ticket. Complete an exit ticket in which you consider the nuances of ardent and zest, and finish the statements below. All right, that's going to be it for today. I'll see you next time. Bye.